Hello, everyone. I am so delighted to be here once again, where today we will be talking about data-driven decisions and how things have changed in that regard, how far it's come. So I am delighted to welcome my colleagues, Andrea Diaz from SKC and Company and Ryan Warnett from 409 Solutions. Andrea, introduce yourself, and then Ryan, you take the stage.
Thanks so much, Donna. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Andrea Diaz. I am a partner here at SKC & Co. CPAs. We work with small to medium-sized business owners, and our niche is helping all of you grow your businesses and be the best business that you can be and achieve all your financial goals. And we work extremely closely, of course, with Ryan and the 409 Solutions team in making that happen with data. So go ahead, Ryan.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Donna. Good afternoon, everyone. Ryan Warnett, former CPA for SKC & Co. I run 409 Solutions, which is a new brand that branched off from SKC's data analytics department. We work very closely with a lot of the same clientele, and we help with the data side of your business. So we'll help you with finding the right data, how to best utilize that data, and how to manage your different softwares and data strategies moving forward to help you make those decisions and help you grow your business.
Awesome. Thank you both. And I have to pause for a moment because Andrea's firm, they call themselves the Entrepreneur's Accounting Firm. And so in 2024, I'll be celebrating 30 years in business. And I have to honestly say, I have never seen a firm who so lives up to what they say they do. And I have watched the evolution of SKC and Ryan and now 409 Solutions. And as a firm, C3 Workplace, our goal is to help you build the foundations administratively, operationally, and financially so that you can scale your companies. And to watch the evolution of data over the years has been amazing. And so I'm really super excited to bring this topic to all of you, because one of the things we want to get across during this short amount of time we have together is that all of this is within your reach. And it is without a doubt. I have always said, knowing my numbers and having to spend 6 months in a class before I opened my business to learn how to write a business plan and crunch the numbers was probably one of the most unintentional superpowers I ever developed. So when I say knowing your numbers is important, I really mean it. I live it. And to watch this evolution of data analytics has been fantastic. And I get a little freaked out when I think about how AI is going to play into that. But I'm in my 4th quarter. I'm leaving that to all you young people. I'm done with that. So anyway, so let's start where I always like to start with foundations. Andrea, talk to us a little bit about, I said before, this is simple but not easy, or easy but not simple. I'm not sure which way. So talk to us a little bit about what our audience should be doing to prepare themselves to be able to harness this power.
So I want to start by saying data analytics started at SKC & Co. because, most of our clients are no more than 50 million in gross revenue. Okay, that's kind of where we stop. So this type of analysis, these visuals, were historically only for the real big guys or the real big players, I'll say. And our goal, because all of our clients are beneath that revenue number, was really to bring the same analysis and the ability to make data-driven decisions to somebody who has a $2 million revenue generating business, somebody who has a $3 million revenue generating business. So that's where this started from. Now, with that, of course, systems are different. And, the bigger players, and that they've spent money on systems and processes and have it all at their fingertips. So for our size, it's a little, there's a learning curve. And that we have to take a step back and look at a few different components. First, we all have data. We may not think that we have data, but we all have data. It could be an Excel spreadsheet, that's data. It could be our QuickBooks Online, that's data. Our our website hosts data, our constant contact hosts data, our CRM systems, our invoicing system. So there's multiple different homes or sources of data that we don't always think about. How can I use this information to get what I want? It generally starts with, I have a problem and I need an answer, or I have a question. What is ... And that's when we say, well, what is your data? Through the process of creating these visual dashboards and going through the strategies and everything that Ryan's going to talk about, what we often see is where we have holes in our data. What systems are we not using to its full capacity? How can we marry two different systems or integrate two different systems that may not play nicely together on their own? And so over this, I guess it's now almost 4-year journey, we have gone through many reiterations, utilized a bunch of different systems, and have been able to provide all of small business owners with the ability to make better decisions through integrating their data. And Donna, I don't know if you have anything to add to that, or
yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And I think that, when we talk about integrating data, some of the basic things that we need to do foundationally is, and we're doing this inside my company because I told Ryan 2024 is going to be my year of the dashboard. But that means that I have to go through my CRM, my QuickBooks, and make sure that my nomenclature is aligned. So everyone who sees me speak knows that I'm an action item person. So if this is something you're thinking about, number one, make sure your nomenclature is aligned so that when you go to link data, you can actually link the data, because those of you who have any database knowledge know that it's going to hinge on a common field. In your CRM, that's probably an email address. Your CRM won't let you put 2 email addresses in. So I think foundationally, we have to look at what are all the systems that we need to integrate, and you can integrate so many, both financially, staffing, and marketing, and Ryan's going to demo that in a minute. But you have to look at all your systems. And Ryan, I loved when we were preparing for the call, you talked about when we think about integration, let's think about strategy. So talk to us a little bit about, again, foundationally, what's the strategy, the things we want to be thinking about at that 50,000 foot level to start this process?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this step gets overlooked some of the times, where you have your data, you have it in different systems and you want to integrate it, but you really need to start with your strategy sessions to lay out what your goals are, lay out what would be considered a success. Where do I have blind spots in my business? Where are my pain points? What questions do I regularly ask myself where I don't feel like I have the full answers to? And once you have a good general idea of all of those things, that's where you could start diving into, okay, where is that information coming from? Where can I start shedding that light? And then from there, you could go into your actual softwares themselves of, okay, we need to connect our CRM system with our invoicing system to see the full picture of when someone becomes a lead, how long does it take for them to then become a client? And then when they are a client, how well do they perform? And how does that full picture affect what I now do with my marketing, or with how I manage my team working on that client? So it really is looking at it at a bigger picture of, what do I want to see? Where do I have my blind spots? Where are my questions? And then diving into the weeds and finding those processes that need to be completed, finding the essential metrics for what you need.
You
100%.
brought up such a good point, Ryan, which is it's a step that gets overlooked. And I cannot tell you how many times Ryan and I have been on a prospect call, and the thought is not I have, this idea of what I'd like to see. I think naturally as business owners, we tend to say, I have this, I want to see this. And it's like, hold on, let's take a few steps back. Why do you want to see that? What is the objective to seeing X, Y, Z? And the more questions that Ryan asks and the more that we ask, the more we uncover, well, it's really to solve this problem over here, but don't worry about that. We want to worry about that first. We want to know, we want to understand the problem because there's, multiple different ways to visualize data and see it. And the more that we can understand the full picture, the better off everybody is. And the more accurate your dashboard will be to give you those answers.
I completely agree. And also on the strategy side, what I find is not all systems should be integrated. Not all information should be merged. So I also believe that, and I know you're all very smart people and you attend these monthly business growth roundtables because you're committed to being better at your business and what you do. But in my opinion, this isn't something you do in isolation. You have to get some outside help because you may not think you have blind spots, but trust me, we all have blind spots. So, the concept of even just doing the discovery to get a sense of what you can or can't do is, I think, really pivotal to the process. And, Ryan, you said something that got breezed over, but I'm going to bring it back to it. You said, do the strategy and then get in the weeds. And there will be a lot of time in the weeds. And if you're like me, if you're a typical entrepreneur and your attention span is about that big, all the more reason why you've got to get somebody outside of you to help you with this process and keep you accountable and keep you from slitting your wrists when you've got so much detail that you just can't make it. But all of that goes to, I believe we always start with the end in mind. So Andrea, talk to us a little bit about, we all have a general understanding of budget casting, but I like the idea of future casting. Talk to us a little bit about that before we go to Ryan and an actual demo so you can see all this fabulous stuff we're talking about.
Sure. So we're in fourth quarter, right? The end of 2023 is here. Let's focus our eyes on 2024. What are we planning for? What's going to happen so that at this time next year, we are celebrating a success from 2024. What does that look like to you? And it's more than just a revenue number, and certainly want that, right? So what are our sights on for revenue for 2024? What does that mean for our expenses for next year? But let's also look at, what does that mean for our employees? How many people do we have to hire? When do we have to hire? How many hours are they going to work? How are we going to finance this growth? Do we have cash in the company? Are we getting loans? Where are we spending our marketing dollars and how are we going to track those items? There's so many different layers and aspects, but when we go in with a plan to next year and we have it down and then we have a mechanism to track against the plan or make changes throughout the year to see what happens if my plan doesn't do exactly what I thought it was going to do. We are much more likely to course correct and change the outcome than just putting together a plan and saying, all right, I'll check it in November of next year. Did we get there? We don't want to wait until November of next year. We want to see it in February. We want to see it in May and all throughout the year of how are we doing? Is what we're doing working to get us to our end goals? So we start with a budget, and then future casting is updating the future numbers based on what we learn throughout the year. And as we all know, things can change on a dime. So having the ability to update and look at what could potentially happen with our new information throughout the year is, in my mind, priceless.
I completely agree. And those of you who've been here well know that I think it was about 2 years ago, I swiped from Simon Sinek. I promoted myself from president to chief visionary officer because that's my job. My job is to see around corners at this point. And then when I'm working with my business growth consulting clients, my goal is not only to think about what's going to happen in 2024, but I want them to envision What does someday look like? What does exit look like? How much is enough? How much, what do I want to do with, money is options. That's all it is. It's options. So the goal is never really the money. The goal is, what can I do when I get there? What kind of impact can I have? How can I change the world? Or, buy a great car. I don't know, whatever it is. But I think looking further down the road and retro, coming into that, creating a plan that moves you along that path is also really important. And so, when I first saw a full demo of these boards that Ryan's about to show us, like my head nearly popped off my shoulders. I was so excited in a really nerdy kind of way. So,
yeah.
We're talking about budgeting and future casting. And the thing that I love about this tool that Ryan's going to share is, and I said this earlier, it's very heavy on the front end work. But what I love about this tool is it is real time. And if any of you are Excel geeks like me, you love to what if. Well, this is a living, breathing, visual what if. It's incredible. So Ryan, why don't you show us the dashboard, give us a sense of some of the things that we can do, and then we'll kind of recap afterwards. And we will have time at the end for Q&A. So if you have questions, you can drop them in the Q&A. As I said earlier, in housekeeping, chat gets a little hard to manage. Drop your questions in Q&A. So Ryan, with no further whatever, take it away.
Absolutely. And both Donna and Andrea both brought up some great questions in their explanations of what you should be asking. And really our part of that journey is to provide tools that give you answers to those questions and help you be able to have the clarity and confidence of, are we on track of our original forecast and our original budget? Are we above? Are we under? If everything were to go to plan with our budget, with our forecast, but then something else changes, we need to be able to prepare for that. We need to be able to identify that and change courses proactively, rather than getting to the end of the year and saying, oh, we didn't reach our goals because of this. Or, we reached our goals, but we could have maximized more in this area. So here we have a budgeting and forecasting tool that we created, and this uses financial data. We have our actuals in blue and our projections in white, and our projections are driven off of a budget that we created using a combination of our past historical performance and also expectations moving forward. So we're able to kind of create what has happened, what we think is going to happen. And what this tool lets us do is this lets us create different situations off of our original future cast. And we can put in a worst case scenario. We can put in, what would this look like with this small wrinkle within the plan if we were to go in this direction. So something that would be powerful is, we have our budget, and we have net incomes on the top graph, and then we have our cash positions on the bottom graph. And we're looking at that through the end of the year. And let's say there was something big happened in the economy. Sales we expect are going to drop moving forward. That could be because of a lot of different reasons, but some may be out of our control. We could then see, okay, if for some reasons our income were to drop 20% for the rest of the year, where is that going to lead us in terms of cash positions and net income moving forward? And we could see that if our income in this situation were to drop 20%, our cash is now below that zero line. We're not going to be able to last with our current position, if we change nothing of our plan, if our income drops 20%, we've reached our threshold of we need to change our plan. We can clearly see that, okay, this isn't going to work out with how we planned it because of this one thing. We know that that's our threshold. If that were to come up, we know that we need to change course, think of new ideas, be more proactive of what we need to do moving forward.
You know what I love about this tool, Ryan, as well, is that you can put in many different variables and just bring that variable pop up again. So, and he went through it a little quickly, but what you can see is he had put in a, variable number 1, right? And he started it in November I think the last one was immediately, but you can put in multiple variables here. You can say, you know what, let's just say we only expect revenue to decrease 20% for 3 months and then go back. We can just do it for 3 months. Or let's say we expect revenue to increase 10% over the next 2 to 3 months because we have a big project, something that we weren't anticipating. You can increase your income, and at the same time, for those 3 months, you can also put in, maybe I need a part-time contractor, and that part-time contractor to fulfill this project, you can include that in the revenue and the income, and then in the expense, you could do a second variable so that everything correlates with that what if, and for that time period. So it's a it's an interactive tool. You can put in, as you can see, multiple variables. You can put in, as we mentioned earlier, if you're going to finance a new project, it doesn't have to be a revenue or expense item here. It could just be a cash outflow. What will this do to my cash position if I take out a $250,000 loan to buy XYZ? and now I have a 5-year repayment. So what does that look like for my cash? Because your profit and your expenses. Now, I hope for a $250,000 investment that's going to generate some additional revenue. So if it's not, then we should talk before you ever make that $250,000.
That's a whole different conversation.
That's a whole different conversation. Exactly.
Yes.
But
Exactly.
the capability of this tool is really, it's all encompassing, and it allows you to set your goals at the end of this year for next year, and then play with them going forward.
It's just about limitless in what you can do. And that goes back to getting in the weeds, figuring out the strategy. What do you need? So what I love about this is it also helps you, you talked about, what if I get this new position and maybe I need to hire a contractor? Ryan, talk to us a little bit about how this dashboard can help us with employee utilization, which I know is something that sometimes these small to medium-sized companies struggle with. When do I hire? Do I hire? Do I outsource? What makes the most sense? So talk to us a little bit about the dashboard that we can use to look at our performance of our team.
I think you brought up a good point as well. Not to get totally sidetracked from that, but we create the tools to help you answer the questions, and our program is fully customizable. So it works with your data, and we can present it in any way that's most useful. We could, make tweaks to every single little thing that you see on the dashboard in terms of presentation wise. Use your terminology, track against your specific goals. There really is no, plug and play in what we do. It really is customized and tailored for the end user, for the client, for the individual. And that's really where you get the most impact out of it. So to answer your question and to get back on track, I'm going to bring up our employee utilization dashboard that we've created in this sample. And this here, let me move my Zoom menu, sorry about that. In this example here, we have a pretty detailed time analysis. So we're looking at our hours from our timekeeping software and comparing that with our invoicing software to get a profitability number or a write up, write down number, which Andre, if you, I know we use this a lot with SKC,
Sure.
and it is a pretty common metric for the service industry. Would you be able to kind of shed some light of write up, write down and why it's important?
Sure. And it's different for all aspects. So in service industries, everybody knows that your people are your biggest asset, and though they're billing, sometimes they're billing hours, and sometimes you're billing a flat fee. So in our industry, we have certain clients that pay the same price every month, depending on whatever service we provide. And as you know, for accountants, tax season is much heavier in the hours for us than, let's say, November, right? So in certain months, we may have a write down, meaning we spent a significant amount more hours than we're billing for that month. And in other months, we might have write ups, meaning the monthly fee that you're getting charged is the work wasn't done in that month. It may have been in other months. And the way we're looking at it here is really by employee. And so each employee has a certain amount of, as you can see, billable hours, non-billable hours, and they generate based on their billing rate. So let's say somebody's billing rate is, $200 an hour. So their WIP, their work in progress, would be $200 an hour times their billable hours. But somebody else in that project may have done it faster or better or whatever. So in this instance, we're looking at write up, write downs per individual. Again, this information can be sliced and diced in multiple ways, but it's really just the increase or decrease for most times flat fees versus the hours spent on a project.
Love it. And, the thing I really like about this as someone who does have to track utilization, it also helps me, and there are many, many, many variations on this, but you can track this by project, by client. There's so many different ways you can look at profitability, but the other piece of it is you can use this to go from, if you want to, if this is appropriate, you can use this to go from hourly billing to value-based billing.
Yes.
And then now you have another comparison of how you're going to monitor your employees. And I know, Ryan talked about this in the strategy and the setup. This helps your employees know what success looks like. It's a big part of what a KPI is in any professional service firm. And I think that's always really important.
And you can, oh, sorry, go ahead, Donna.
No, go right ahead.
You can look at, when I look at this, and this is a sample, so I don't even know where this data is pulled from, honestly. But when I look at this, I can tell you what I see from this. If I was advising this business owner, I would say, well, employee number 6 seems to have significant write-ups, which in my mind goes automatically to this. They're doing value work that they likely aren't, you're getting a higher price point than the hours that they're putting into it. So they're really good at something. What are they good at? What projects are they working on? What are they really nailing it on? You can use this tool in more than just dollars and cents. And you can look back at the clients and see, and the tasks that they're doing and say, what are they really doing a great job on? Because somewhere you came up with a value price for a certain, and sometimes it's based on a certain amount of hours times a certain billable rate. And it looks like they're actually doing it under budget. So that may mean that they're doing great. Conversely, employee number 3, what are they having some issues with? Where can we provide more training? Are they not, there's a significant amount, look at their billable hours compared to their non-billable hours. They have a lot more non-billable hours there. What can we look at and how can we help them? And what do they need from us to to grow. So looking at this metric, and clearly, you know, Ryan clicked on employee number 3. The goal for every employee is to be 50% billable, and they are only 35.85% billable. So why? You know, what are we looking at here? And when we're planning for future cast and who are we going to hire and when are we going to hire, you know, we can see, looking at our data first, where do we have capacity? Who has capacity? Potentially employee number 3 just doesn't have enough work. You know, maybe we need to look at what they're doing. And so there's so many different ways and answers to questions by looking at this data. And it's one reason why, yes, you can have these boards, but sometimes unless you have someone else that you're having the conversation with, whether it's Donna Miller and her company saying, look at these particular items, or us, 409, whomever, you know, it just having that conversation about what people see from the data. Everybody sees something different.
Right. Agreed.
And you brought up a great point, Andrea, and we've mentioned, you know, we're looking to answer questions, but also having these dashboards and having all of this information in front of you, it will provide more questions for you. It'll provide avenues where you can ask more questions and gain more insights just from the actual numbers themselves. Like you mentioned, some great questions before of, you know, someone or something is performing better than others. Let's dive into why that is happening. Let's find the true why of the story so that we could implement that across other areas or help other departments or other people out if they do need it. You know, it could provide more answers, but it could also provide different questions for you where you could dive and gain a better understanding fully.
I will say, as a user of these dashboards, it is addicting. And it's more often than not, as Ryan said, you're going to say, I want more, because right now I'll tell you, if this was my only dashboard, I would say, hey, Ryan, could you give me a dashboard that tells me where all of the non-billable hours are spent? Right, Donna?
Well, and I like what both of you said. And Ryan, I think the point I would make in general is, as we move along in our career, our job as leaders or business owners or professionals is to ask better questions. And that's, I think, what this allows us to do. Now, in the few minutes that we have left, Ryan, I'm going to ask you to flip to, I say my favorite, but what these analytics can do for you is also give you a very clear picture on where your new business is coming from, what's converting, what kind of ROI are you getting on various marketing initiatives. So talk to us a little bit about the marketing dashboard.
Absolutely. And
probably my fave.
We've come up with a few different variations of similar data, but this does seem to be a relatively common blind spot within varieties of different organizations, different industries. Lots of times you have your CRM system, and then you have your operations system, let's call it, you know, whatever you're doing. If you're in the service industry, it's most likely a combination of your timekeeping software or your accounting software, where, you know, you have your marketing data, and then you have your, let's call it your business data, your day-to-day data. And we don't have a good link between the two of them, and we don't get that full picture. So the goal of our marketing dashboards is to provide a full picture from beginning to end of, you know, where you're spending the time, who you're reaching, how effective are your different marketing initiatives, who's bringing in the most business in terms of, if you have a marketing team, if it's a specific team member, or if it's from referrals. If you have a good network of individuals that refer you business, you know, who is bringing in the most business, you know, who has brought in a lot of business in the past and may not be providing a lot of business now, you know, be able to shed light on that to be proactive. Maybe I should reach out to that person. We haven't talked in months. We could catch up, see how everyone is doing, and really shed light onto areas where is very common, where they don't have the light into these metrics.
You know what I love about this one is the conversion rate. So, when you look at the conversion rate for, a former client in this scenario, it's almost 94%, right? But then if we look at, the conversion rate from our contact us form, it seems to be very low. So it asks the question, why? Is it, and then you can, if you look on the top right for disqualified leads by reason, we can see why it wasn't a good lead. So maybe some of these weren't a good lead, and why, for what reason, is that, were they not a qualified lead? And maybe we need to change something in the contact us form, or maybe we need to change the way people are getting to the contact us form. It could be multiple different reasons, but utilizing every aspect of the data on here to ask different questions or come up with solutions to increase the conversion rate from the contact us form, right? Who's responding to that? So I love the ability to see the conversion rate, how many leads are coming in from each of those, and why certain things are disqualified.
Agreed.
And it looks, well,
yeah. And we have just a few minutes before we go to Q&A, so please go ahead and put your questions in the Q&A segment. But the other thing I really like about this is you can measure. I mean, I love that it ties to the marketing data, but it also allows you as an organization to look at the cost of client acquisition. And I often feel that people are unaware of how much it really costs them to acquire a client. And so if you understand what it's costing you to acquire a client from various different sources, it allows you to expend the right amount of resources on the best possible return. Because with this particular client, if they're getting 239 contact us forms with a very low conversion rate, part of the acquisition form is just processing that initial lead to get it to a no. That's very time consuming. So I think all of these things play into the overall goal. When I think about business growth, I think about setting myself up for the company I want to be. And these analytics are going to help me to figure that out. But also, where am I going to get the information that's going to help me make the best possible decisions this can help you make decisions in hundreds of different ways, whether it's hiring, outsourcing, insourcing. Should we market this? Should we market that? The one thing I will say on a disclaimer for marketing and what's converting, and I know Rachel is in the background screaming right now. The truth is, it used to take 7 to 11 touches. I don't know statistically what that is now, but what's cited here as the source is what I like to refer to as the tipping point. So you still have to do many of the things you're doing, but you put your focus on the things that are clearly producing the best results. So before we go to Q&A, those of you who know me know I'm very big on action items. So Ryan, Andrea, what do you want to see our audience do in their journey towards having the data, asking better questions, and accelerating their own growth?
So just so you know, I think Rachel would say 9 to 13 touches.
Okay,
but I could be wrong.
Okay.
I would like people to start thinking about the possibilities of what their business can be with some real data behind making decisions. And I during this time of year, I ask people to put together their wish list, and I ask them to think about in your ideal world, how does your business run? And so start thinking about the possibilities and knowing that you certainly can at however small or big, have the ability to get this information at your fingertips, and there are resources to help you get there.
100%. Ryan, how about you?
I would say spend some time to review and reflect and try to answer some of your questions that you do have, and spend that time forward looking, but also then see if you can measure for that in the past. And if not, I'm happy to have a conversation of how I might be able to help, or my team may be able to help. And really it is difficult to kind of step away from, especially as busy business owners. It's hard to kind of take a step back and really reflect and review, but spend that time, look to where you want to go, but also look back to see, do I have the information to see if I can reach this goal, or have we reached this in the past? Is this attainable? That's my action item.
Agreed. And so all I want to add before we go to Q&A is, I talked about when I work with companies on consulting, very often we're looking at where's the exit door, and the exit door can look so many different ways. And actually, we're probably going to talk about that in January. But what I always say to my clients is, even whether it's having standard operating practices, having your procedures documented, having solid financials and a dashboard like this, literally increases the hard dollar value of your company. So in addition to it helping you to work smarter, make better decisions, hire when you need to hire and not when you don't, it literally will increase the value of your company. So when you look at doing something like this, it's like any other investment in your business. It is an investment, but it's one that I believe will pay you a great return. And with that, we are going to go to Q&A.